Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday, everyone. We are in by Joanna's wall, and you've been talking about this for a while. We've been talking about it for a while. It's gonna get sort of kind of redone, right?
Yep, it is.
So I'm gonna get out of the way so that we have a little bit more that we can see. So hold on a second here, and then we're gonna kind of give you an overview of what we're gonna be doing. We've gone back and forth with this for a while as to what we're gonna be doing. So let me get out of the way, and you can show everybody kind of what you've got and where things are going.
All right, so we decided not to build brand new racks. We're gonna keep these two. However, this one is gonna move on the back wall. I finally won the battle. I've always wanted that because I wanted a little bit more space here. This one will move down a little bit, so it'll make a nice little L. And we're gonna keep an area for plants. I'm gonna work on containing that to one shelf. And then on the bottom over here, we're gonna create a aquatic plant tank setup. So that's gonna be really cool because all my plants will be on the bottom, and no longer will I have tanks with fish on the bottom so that I can see them way better.
All right, everyone, so we aren't 100% done because there are some tanks that you still have to do.
Yes, I do.
But we have solved many problems. And so why don't we talk about, we're going to show you the tanks. And as we're doing that, let's talk about the problems that we've solved by doing Nano Wall version 3 at this point.
Is it?
It's Nano Wall version 3. So let's talk about it. All right, so thing number one, what was the first thing that you wanted to solve?
Well, we needed a backdrop for the videos, and not only for the prime time, the Mondays that I'm in, but also for the small scape that you see me in. I really wanted to use this as a backdrop, so that certain things had to change.
Yeah, so what you're saying is the black wall that we had before
Boring.
was boring, and now it had the dehumidifier, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, now the dehumidifier's over there, but it probably won't be for long.
And now we've got some tanks on the back wall, so that was problem number one. The second thing that we solved.
Well, I wanted to move away from smaller tanks, the very small 2.5s, for a lot of different reasons. I wanted slightly larger tanks, and in this, if you see, I actually have two monster tanks. I call them monster tanks. Most of the humankind calls them just 20 longs. But to me, they are monster tanks. They're on my wall.
And so that's one of the things that you did then is we went, not that the 2.5s were horrible or anything like that. It's just you wanted a little bit more options when it came to stocking.
Scaping.
More options certainly when it came to scaping. And so now the smallest tank you have on your wall, I believe, is
like a 3.5, 3.7, whatever that little guy is down there.
So
yeah.
that is, the rest of them are 7.5s. We've got a 5 gallon, a 12 long, and a couple 20s. And then we've got a couple other tanks that we're going to show you that are still technically part of the Nano Wall, even though they're not really on the Nano Wall. And that's the Hterandria Formosa, I believe it's a 2.3 gallon long, which is pretty cool. And then we've got the Betta in a 3.7 gallon long, which is also a really cool tank, but that moved off the wall.
Yeah. It's off the wall.
The next thing we tried to solve was what?
Some tanks had to come off the floor. Don't put your tanks on the floor. You can't see them. So I got a couple of tanks up here that I haven't seen in months.
And this is, I think this was one of the biggest ones for me, is I really enjoyed those tanks, but they were nearly impossible to enjoy unless you wanted to sit on the fish room floor, which is fine, but not ideal. And now that they are at closer to eye level, certainly whether you're sitting or standing, they are at eye level. Really awesome to be able to see those.
Yes, it is.
What else did we solve?
Well, the 12 gallon long, I had some issues with the white sand. Everybody knows that. And I wanted to rescape it a little bit and give it some nice black sand.
And you've got a really cool background on there now too.
Well, it's gone back to the black.
Yeah, the temporary background you had on there before was kind of it was an odd purpley sort of reddish color. No,
it was actually a really dark red, but I had 3 sheets of scrapbook paper, and that's what I used. So.
And so now we've kind of fixed that situation.
Yes, we have.
And of course, one thing that happened is when we had the wall situated the way it was, we actually were using 3 72-inch Beamswork lights. There were a couple issues with that. One, they were really bright for the size tanks that we had, and so we were constantly battling algae. And the second thing was, unfortunately, one of the 3 went out. And so one of the switches on that just completely broke, and so we had to replace that. And so what we did in its place is I went out and ordered 2 of my favorite lights right now. It's a cheaper light, but they are the Higher lights. I will put that review in the upper right-hand corner as well as in the description below, but I absolutely love the color spectrum on these lights. And they make your 7.5s look really nice.
They're way more relaxing.
They're not as bright. They're not as intense. The 72-inch lights went on a couple of 125s where it looks much better there because the tanks are much deeper, they're wider, and so it fits a little nicer. And then we've got some Phoenix Stingray lights for your plant area.
Yep.
Which you definitely wanted to keep. And then these 20 longs, which we're going to talk about in a second, the Phoenix Stingray lights are on that as well, on those as well. And those are yet to be stocked, and so that's one of the things that you've got coming up, right?
Yes, it is.
And so you're not gonna tell everybody just quite yet what you're doing with that. So we have those 2 tanks, and then we have 1 or 2 more that we're adding to the Nano wall that I think are going to be pretty cool. But those will be coming in the somewhat distant near future.
Wow. Yeah.
So absolutely. So one of the 20 gallons, though, you do have a plan for that I think we can share now.
I do. It was very important for me to have not only terrestrial plant area, which I still do have my succulents here. I also wanted aquatic plant grow out. So it's my space here. So one of those 20 monster tanks is going to hold some plants.
Really cool plants.
That's
awesome.
Right.
So this is the update, and you'll be showing off more of what you do in the coming weeks and months.
Yay!
All right, everyone, so hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Have a good week.